Let me bring Saint Germain in. It's May 14th, 2020. I'm going to bring Saint Germain in and see what happens. It's our first channeling attempt with a camera anyway. Hi everyone, I am Saint Germain. I sound a lot like Ron. I've been mixing up some chemicals of my own. Things that would be like a vaccine or a treatment for the virus. However, I don't know how to get them to the right people to do it, so I am trying to influence people that are studying this to come up with vaccines or treatments, serums, I think the word would be, to treat the virus. There is a treatment, there is a cure that will nullify the virus. It has 3 ingredients. However, this channel would not understand it. So I have to inspire someone to come up with it. But I'm working diligently at it and trying to make it precise, so tweak it, so to speak. But many millions of people will be infected before anything happens to cure it or to stop it. Especially in poor countries like Africa. It's going to be devastating there. Central Africa in particular. But they're not necessarily going to see it for what it is. So do you have other questions?
How did this virus happen?
Well, I think it's been well documented in the press, well, the alternate press. So it's a little bit already covered, but they're studying things in Wuhan that they shouldn't be studying. They're not prepared to handle this type of technology quite yet, and why they would be trying to get these gain-of-function viruses is absolutely an evil thing to do. There's no reason for it. So I think that the best use of these people's time would be to be curing the diseases, not coming up with new ones. But it was a woman there who wanted to see what she could do with it, and she found out. And it got out. Anything else did you want to know or inquire about, or other subjects?
Do you have any other messages for us?
Love and peace. Holding on to your fear is not a good idea right now. It's a matter of, how should I put this? It's not so much in trying to escape and meditate and whatnot, which I'm not saying you shouldn't do, but this is not going to get you out of this situation. As you know, Christa, Abraham Hicks, talks a lot about you can't stop thinking about something. So you need to focus on something else. So you have to find positive things to focus on in your lives. And this is going to get you out of the situation from a mental and spiritual standpoint. To create a new world, you have to think of a new world, and you have to create it. You can't be focused on the old world and think you're going to create a new world, because that's not going to happen. So you have to build this new world that you want with the current world as your foundation. You have no other choice. A lot of people want to tear down what's here and build a new world, and that's never going to happen. You have to build it on what you have. Work with what you have is where you start. So that's how you build a new world. There are many, many wonderful things here, and advancements that have been made. And sometimes people lose sight of this. They're so concerned about climate change or something like that, and not seeing all the wonderful things you have. So the world is not overpopulated if it's managed properly. So that's really the key. But I don't want to get focused on that. But the idea for you individually is to build a world, build your world as you want it. And if everybody does that in a positive way in cooperation with other people, you will have that new world. And, you know, I've always been about transmutation. You have to take the bad and turn it into the good. And even a lot of the bad can be seen as good. So take what you have, and you have a lot, and turn it into something good, turning it into something better. Use the resources you have to create the world that you want, both personally and as a community or communities. And that's really what you need to do. And scientists will come up with treatments and whatnot. This is a challenge for the scientific community as it stands, and in that sense it was meant to happen. Because as you can probably understand, if you don't, let me tell you that this virus is quite mild compared to what you could be faced with and what could happen in the future. So it's a good opportunity to learn how to control a pandemic with something that's relatively mild. And so it's a good learning experience. And it's a good way to protect civilization so that you don't have this happening again. As far as older people go, a lot of the older people are basically done with their lives, and it's time for them to go. It may sound harsh, but it doesn't need to be that way. And part of the problem is they're not focused on building a new life for themselves. They're not focused on building their future. They're just sort of hanging out the end of their lives, and that's really no way to live. People that retire and go to these senior facilities a lot of times don't really have purpose in their life. And without purpose in your life, you're lost. And that goes back to the statement I made before about focusing on other things that to build the world with and build your own lives with. That includes them too. And you know, that whole idea of purpose, even in old age, will strengthen the immune system and the ability to withstand things. So that something like this is not as big of a problem, because there's no reason to be so decrepit for so many people, except of course the high sugar diet that a lot of people like to eat, which is not good for you. So, you know, eat whole foods, of course, and there's all kinds of things on the internet about that. But, you know, sugar, particularly fructose, is very bad for you. So, a good diet, exercise, and purpose in life, this is what keeps you going. And this is what's going to get you out of the situation for most people, and then it's up to the scientific community and you know, politicians and whatnot to figure out how to deal with this situation. And it's a learning experience, and it's not the last one. So I guess I will put that as a warning to you. It's not the last one. So learn as best you can, because life is about tests and challenges. So be ready for the next one. The next one will be much different. and will come in about 5 years.
Is the economy going to be okay?
Well, no. No, you have challenges there. A lot of people are going to suffer. But a lot of people are going to skate through it with no problems. So there's going to be adjustments and hardships. But it's definitely recoverable. Again, it's a lot. If people stay in their fear, it's going to be worse than it needs to be. Just do what you can to, start a new business, start something else, study, get yourself prepared, because the world's going to be different when we come through this. There's going to be a lot of changes in the future, culturally, as we move on. It's hard to describe how the world's going to be in 5 or 10 years, but it's going to be much different. But a lot of communication is going to be present that isn't here now. People are becoming more communicative. So things that were hidden won't be so much hidden anymore, and more will be known, and information will be shared, and that will energize society, especially in the developed nations. Those that do not move into that will suffer. The younger people, say in their 20s and 30s, are the people that are going to be most benefited by these changes. And will have the most influence. The younger people, younger than 20, I'm afraid that that's going to be a new wave of people that are going to see things much differently. They're going to be more passive, more like pacifists, not as motivated, and willing to accept things as they are. And the people who are 40 and above will have more difficulty with it, and will cling to the old ways of how they've learned to do things. But in general, most of them will move in with the way things are. And older than 60 might have even more of a problem with it, but I think a lot of them are just going to be in retirement.
Okay. I don't have any other questions at this time.
Would you like to have someone else come in?
Yes, please.
Who would you like?
The gentleman we were speaking of earlier.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't get a name on that yet.
I have no name. None that you would relate to what you do. I am here to show you things about energy that you have not really dealt with before. Christa, you bring in a very high level energy, but there's a lower level energy that needs to be established. Think of it as a white, somewhat yellow or golden light. When you do your vortexes, to establish this light, it is a sort of a carrier wave, or you might think of it as a tunnel for energy to go through. Especially when you establish things long distance. Think of kind of a pipe, you know, those PVC pipes,
Mm-hmm.
but not physical, but that kind of idea, maybe that kind of color. And then you establish pipelines to people for the energy to flow through. And then you can create like a hub where the energy comes and then spread it out to people. So you can think of them individually, and once you think of them, you throw out a pipe to them for the energy to flow.
Okay.
So I'm here to help you do that.
Okay. Cool.
Saint Germain will help you with this too, and he's going to add some of his purple energy with it. There's a big need for transmutation these days. It is the big lesson that people need to learn. And they're not learning because they want to, as he said, replace one thing with another. And that's not how it's done. It's to transmute it. But anyway, he's going to add his 2 cents in, so to speak, and then you just create this, it's kind of like the grid that you've heard about. So you can create like a grid of this around the planet. And in fact, you can just make it available for people to just connect to. Just send it out there with the potential of it, and when they want it, if they have the intention to have it, even if they don't realize it, they're not on your call or anything like that, they just have this intention to have that kind of thing. The energy channel, the pipe, so to speak.
Yeah, I see them
Just
connect.
Yes.
I see it connect like a web.
Yes. That's it. That's why I came in.
So, what can I call you?
The closest thing would be Matia.
Thank you. I'd like to have a name to be able to refer to you by, if I'm going to be working with you.
There's a big unpronounceable part between the M and the T. We'll just say Matia.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to scoot out of here right now. And I have another, she says her name is Bubbles.
Okay.
Hi, Christa.
Hi.
It's Bubbles.
Hi, Bubbles.
I am a part of you. You have neglected me recently.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I've neglected you.
Well, I just
In
like
what
to have
way?
fun. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. So I just want you to remember to have fun.
Okay. That's important to do.
I am Melchizedek. I am not so fun.
Hello.
Although I can be. I am the serious side of you. The love and the light is always available to you. Don't be concerned about not having it all the time. You're not meant to have it all the time. You're meant to face life's challenges. You're meant to feel bad sometimes. But know that the love and light is always there for you. Always there to help you and guide you. Always there when you need it and when you ask for it. Just grab onto it. And that'll help you get through some dark times. It won't prevent the dark times, but it'll help you get through. And I hope that it eases your way through. And I will be with you always. Good night.